Hey there, I just want to tell you, if you're going through something right now, if you have pain, if you're going through suffering, if you have challenges coming at you, I have some really great news for you. And that is that your challenges, your suffering, your pain is actually enlarging a capacity in you for joy. We cannot actually have joy without having challenges, without having suffering, without having pain. It's like digging a well. You actually are enlarging your reservoir for the joy that's going to fill it. Like the waters of joy will fill whatever reservoir you dig, and the digging of that is the challenges you go through. It's the pain you go through. It's the suffering you go through. So we're going to get into that today in this series about how to have joy in the journey. My name is Tally. I'm a life and personal development coach, and I work with leaders to create lives of overflowing impact in the world that are centered in joy. Getting you aligned to who it is you most truly are, get you firing on all cylinders, and get you creating a life that you love living so that you can be in overflow, enjoying your life and making a difference for others. So today, in this series all about having joy in the journey, we're talking about suffering because it's a key component. And there's even a part of me that doesn't want this to be the case, and so I kind of wanted to be like, yeah, we'll skip that part of the topic because I don't love it in some ways. There's a part of me that's like, no, we can just have joy just because we can have it. But really, we deepen our ability to experience it more profoundly, more significantly when we go through challenging things. And like I've been taught this, I know this to be true, and I've experienced it. I've experienced a lot of challenge in my life, a lot of pain in my life, and I think that is a lot of why I live every single day. There's not a single day that goes by that I don't experience profound joy, and I think honestly it has so much to do with the challenges that I've been through. Now I have this deep appreciation for joy in my life. I have this deep just value for it and notice it more because I think because I have something to contrast it against. So right now I'm currently reading a book called The Book of Joy for a certification that I'm doing. So I have multiple certifications in life coaching, and I'm doing another one right now, which is amazing. And one of the core readings for it is a book called The Book of Joy. Really interesting look at, it's taking the approach of perspective of two different spiritual leaders. So the Dalai Lama, which is a Buddhist leader, and Bishop Desmond Tutu, who's a Christian leader, and it's looking at both of their perspectives on joy and how to have joy. It's basically an unfolding conversation between the two of them on their perspectives on how to create joy. So really fun, and I just happened to be reading that. Like I picked this series topic before I started reading that book, so I was like, well, this is awesome. Anyway, one of the things that they get into is this whole idea of our challenges and our pain and suffering as a road to joy. And I think it's true, and I think it's fascinating, and it's really good news because we actually don't get through this life without challenge, very few of us go through life with very little joy. I mean, with very little pain. Most of us experience pain, whether it's something in our family growing up, whether it's circumstances, the loss of things that we really cherish. It might be the loss of a loved one or a relationship or a job, or we all experience loss. We live in a broken world. We live in a world that has sin in it, and so we are wronged at times. We're violated in different ways, and we lose things that we really cherish and love. And there's pain in that. There's suffering in that, and so I think it's good news to us that what is getting created in that is an enlarging of our capacity to experience joy. And I think that's one of the beautiful gifts of going through challenges, knowing that we are digging a reservoir for ourselves that joy can then come in and fill. So that's one of the redemptive pieces, and there are a lot. I mean, we learn so much through it. We grow emotionally, spiritually, hopefully relationally by the support that we receive. But there are so many gifts for us in going through pain, and joy, enlarging our capacity for joy is just one of those. So we grow in kindness and in joy when those things are tested. It's like our ability to maintain joy in the midst of struggle. Our ability to reset back to it is one of the things that builds that muscle. So learning to see tragedies as opportunities. It's the painful experiences of our life that shine a light on the nature of happiness. And learning to be able to see tragedy, see challenge, see pain as an opportunity will really, really, really serve us. Because I've personally been through a lot of painful things, and I've come to be able to look back on it and see, man, that was a gift to me. Even though it was like, it sucked so bad going through it, it was such a gift to me. And that sets me up for such resiliency, I think, for future things. Like, as all of this is going on in the world, there's not a huge fear that I'm living in. And I think it's because I've been through things and I've overcome things, and I know, okay, I have a lot of tools, I have a lot of support, and it doesn't, like, whatever comes, I know that I can reset back into a place of joy. I know that I can reset back into a place of compassion and kindness and, you know, getting things aligned that I really value, even in the midst of challenge. It's interesting listening to this book too. They talk about Auschwitz survivors, so people who have survived the Holocaust where there's torture. They also talked about prisoners of war, and how the ones who survived it are the ones that got this line of thinking in place, where they weren't expecting somebody to come and save them. They realized that there was something that they could develop in themselves that would get them through it. And it was this resiliency, it was this keeping their heart soft, coming back to a place of compassion, coming back to a place of warm-heartedness, coming back to a place of kindness in themselves. There was one prisoner of war, and he just talked about when he was tortured, the thing that he feared most was hardening his heart and losing his ability to have compassion for his torturers. Like, more than his fear of losing his life, he was worried about losing his capacity for compassion. I think it's so fascinating. They talked about a lot of the concentration camp survivors were the ones who were able to maintain warm-heartedness. I just think it's so fascinating. The inner work that we do on ourselves in the midst of pain and suffering and tragedy and loss, it becomes the shortcut to joy, which is, I think, really fascinating and really beautiful, actually. I have a Mark Twain quote for you. What is joy without sorrow? What is success without failure? What is a win without a loss? What is health without illness? You have to experience suffering in order to appreciate the other. It's how you look at your suffering, how you deal with it, that will define you. How you look at and deal with your suffering is what will define you. And it's what will create that capacity for joy in you. So when suffering seems senseless, when we can't connect it to anything that has meaning, we become embittered. When we can look at it for there being a redemptive quality to it, for there being something to gain in it, for there being some gift to us because of it, then it actually ennobles us. So we're either embittered or we're ennobled by the suffering that we go through. And so much of it is our choice in how we're going to see it. If we can see it as something that is creating the capacity for joy within us, then we can lean into it, we can walk through it. A lot of our suffering actually is the resistance to pain. It's us like trying to get around it, trying to not have to experience it. But when we go through pain, we actually come out on the other side with this rich capacity to be able to experience joy. So it's pretty beautiful. Attachment, anger, and delusion are at the heart of suffering, and non-attachment, compassion, and wisdom are at the heart of joy. So when we learn to find joy, regardless of what it is we're going through, regardless of our circumstances, not in spite of pain, but actually because of it, then we step into an ability to experience deep levels of joy, which is such a gift. So the path to joy leads not away from pain and suffering, but through it. And looking back on some of your most painful experiences, if you're able to reframe, and maybe you already see it this way, maybe you're already making the connections for how that was a gift to you, But that's our activation today, for you to be able to look back on some of the places that have been the most challenging in your life, whether it was getting bullied as a kid, maybe the loss of a loved one, going through a divorce, maybe some kind of betrayal in your life, maybe some kind of just huge loss. Maybe you had a job that you loved and you lost the job. Whatever it is in your life that you feel like has led to some of the most painful places for you, if you can look back on that and look at how has that thing positioned me for something that I'm deeply enjoying today. Like if I wouldn't have had that, what would I not have now? And looking at that, making those connections will actually position you for, first of all, a deep appreciation for the things that you're enjoying, and also will create a resiliency in you for whatever might come down the path. You know, it's like if you know that you've overcome all of these things and you've gotten beautiful gifts from going through those things, then it's kind of like whatever comes, I'm going to get through it, and there's going to be something beautiful for me in it. I'm going to be able to experience joy even in the midst of it. That was one of the things that struck me so profoundly. When I was going through my divorce, I was living in my parents' basement. I had no money. I was homeschooling my kids. It was like challenging. I had like $0 to my name. And like in a lot of just kind of survival mode and transitioning everything that I was doing in terms of the work that I did in the world, all of it. It was like everything was getting reset, and it was hard. It was really, really painful in so many ways. And I was shocked by the moments of just sheer joy that I was able to experience, even in the midst of that. And most of those happened spiritually, when I was connecting somehow with God, and I was getting what my heart really, really needed. And I was feeling such comfort and such joy. I was like, how can I have joy right now with all this going on? It was weird for me, but really comforting at the same time. And it deepened something in me that I now feel like I can overflow and give to other people, which is amazing. Like that is such a gift to see how that gets used, not only in my own life, but how that gets to overflow into the lives of other people. So that is probably true for you, and that's our activation, for you to look back at some of the painful moments in your life or seasons in your life and look at how that has shaped you for good, the capacity that has been enlarged for joy in your life because of those things. So that's your activation today. I would love it if you want to share that either in the comments below or message me directly. Would love to hear about some of those stories for you and how you feel like you've been shaped because of the pain and suffering you've been through, and how it's positioned you for joy. So we'll be back again tomorrow. And if you haven't heard it yet today, just want to say that you are loved, you are a gift, and you are needed in this world. Blessings.